I'm not really like a person who's finger pointing at anybody or saying somebody's bad. I personally believe anybody who's out there in the market as a sourcing company, sourcing agency who lives and survives there for several years or many years, hopefully also many years to come, I guess they have a right to be there. They probably do a good job.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, a show where we interview high voltage entrepreneurs growing and scaling through e-commerce, real estate, and other wealth without Wall Street ventures, showing you the path to making your first or next million. Folks, welcome back to the call. I appreciate you checking in. If you haven't had a chance to check out previous episodes, please go do that now on your favorite Apple Podcast, Spotify, or go to YouTube. Subscribe and check out what we're doing. If you like it, leave me a like. If you love it, leave me a comment. And if you really love it, subscribe for great information so you can meet wonderful people like the guy I'm going to introduce you to today. Sebastian and I had a great conversation leading up to this call, and I'm excited to have him on because of his experience and background, specifically in product sourcing. And as you know, one of the things we talk about on this channel is e-commerce. If you're surprised by that, then you may be on the wrong podcast and you might want to exit right now. But if you're talking e-commerce, if you're talking business, real estate, wealth without Wall Street alternatives, then you're in the right place. Buckle up. We got a great episode we're about to unlock with Sebastian right now. Thanks for coming on the call, brother.
Thank you very much, Neil, for having me. What a nice intro. And to all of you out there right now, whenever this is airing, I wish you a happy Chinese New Year, whether before or after. I really wish you have a lot of stock and enough stock in place.
May all your 2023 be filled with an abundance of stock.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about sourcing today, clearly. Stock and inventory. Sebastian's got a background in building these e-commerce companies. He's working with aggregators. He works with private companies. He sells himself, and he usually talks a lot about sourcing. So today, that's going to be the focus of our conversation. So one of the questions I normally get right out of the gate with people who are like, hey, I want to learn about your coaching mastermind. I want to talk to you about your business and see what you're doing is, do I have to sell in China? Is all my product coming from China? Because I don't necessarily want to do China. And I hear bad things about China from logistics and manufacturing and all this stuff. So let's put this to rest once and for all. Is China the only place to source products?
Yes. No, of course not. I mean,
no.
don't worry.
Well, the answer is no. What? Cancel this podcast.
No, of course not. I mean, China, yes, for sure. It is still the producing country of the world. But just to make it short, I think last year, like 1.5 years ago, we had about 10% of all of our projects were sourcing outside of China. Right now, the last 1.5 to 2 years with all the chaos that was going on, China still grew massively, but the rest of the world just overtook it. So we're roughly about like 50-50 right now. So about 50% of the projects are being sourcing from outside of China, and that may be other Asian countries to avoid, of course, anti-dumping import taxes, but also Europe and Mexico, US going very strong, as well as Latin America.
Yeah, a lot of things are starting to really tool. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because we definitely, after 10 plus years of heads down e-commerce product sourcing and manufacturing, I would say, 50-50 is quite a bit farther than the 80-20 we had about 10 plus years ago, when so much more was in China only, especially for tooling and manufacturing. Now, there are some products, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, that can only be made in China right now until you have the funds or, ability to tool up in a different location. How do you, in essence, get to a different location to find different sourcing China supplier? What's your experience, and why are you seeing that move down 50-50 right now?
Well, one of the major reasons usually for sellers were, first one, the cost. Shipping was very expensive. Right now, we're in a lucky situation, or hopefully we still are whenever it's airing, that shipping right now was super, super cheap. But the previous years, they showed us a very different one, 19,000, 21,000 for a container. And that was, of course, quite massive if you're going with smaller numbers. The second one, of course, was that the delivery time, like 13 weeks, sometimes 14 weeks were normal on sea shipping. And the additional problems that came in with the lockdowns in China, meaning longer production times, plus the longer shipping times, plus the massive costs. So those were the main reasons. And I always like to ask, me, myself, being a seller as well, I started selling on 2014, and we have now 2 brands selling on Amazon, selling in e-commerce web shop, but also into big box retail businesses throughout Germany. But what we have seen then, of course, was more and more the change, not only the cost and the time, but that we also asked people, like, come on, guys, what else is there? There's a marketing effect. If you say, made in Europe, made in the USA, or we actually have customers who literally print on the boxes, not made in China. That, of course, comes on top as well for additional marketing advantages.
Yeah, and we have a couple suppliers now that, because of the change in some of the things over the last 3 to 5 years, we've got 2 suppliers and manufacturers actually in the United States working on 2 of our brands now,
Mhm.
which is really cool because in the previous years prior, we couldn't get those kind of products made here. And in a couple of cases, we have them coming from China in our brand, and our goal immediately is to get them into Mexico, which is one of the things we're looking at after the first of the year, due to the fact that there are now manufacturers geared up in Mexico to take over some of that. They've come up in the last 3, 4 years, which is great to
Yep.
watch, creates opportunity. You mentioned something else I don't hear a whole lot about. You mentioned retail. So you're taking your physical products, Amazon products, and moving them into retail. Can you explain some more about that?
That's correct. I mean, to be honest, one of my reasons was as well, and again, I started in 2014. Back then, you bought basic card sleeves, production price like 30 cents, selling for 14.99. Those were some fantastic times back then. But of course, more and more competitors
Mm.
move in, prices go down. I had one of my products, I think in Germany alone, 63 direct competitors, absolute Me Too product. And this way, everything just dropped. And I said, all right, Amazon is not the only channel. And I myself, originally, I'm an electrical engineer by university and stayed in that. I never wanted to go into sales. But then, you start thinking, you go into business development, you start thinking, what else can you do? And I've got deeper, much deeper into sales. So I said, you know what? I can sell this through other stores as well. It's not only Amazon who gets like a huge chunk of the revenue in there. But then I said, go to the big box retail. Or actually, I started with a very, very small one, like local level small. And I was happy I was selling, yay, 10 products to a store. And, they start selling them. And then you understand, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do that, but it's a lot of effort. So we went to the big box retail, and now the products are in thousands of stores throughout Germany. And TV shopping
Excellent.
as well, in the comparison pages, SEO strong pages, and so on. So that people quite often also ask, like, Sebastian, well, does it actually make sense? Is there actually still some money left over? And to be honest, in some of the cases, you have more money and more margin compared to Amazon, because the stores, they don't take that much. Of course, you're paying your VAT and everything as well, but it depends on how you negotiate, and that can also be a very, very nice channel for selling.
Well, that's going to be sort of product and channel dependent, two variables, right? I mean, if your product is up $30 or your channel is not, in which they have a different affinity level of retail price point, if they're a lower end box retail, if you're trying to push a product out in the dollar store, as an
Yeah.
example, here in the United States, you're going to obviously be affected differently by the kind of products and price points that market would lead you to get into for retail. Now, you mentioned Germany and you mentioned German markets, which is great. Are you actually selling anything in the US market and doing any retail in the US yet?
With the products that I have in my first brand, no. The second brand maybe will drive it into the US, but not in retail. Myself, I'm in retail only German speaking area and Euro, but of course, I mean, growing it out. And we're starting to help some sellers as well, looking into Walmart, and looking into some other of the retail brands to get the products in there, either through consulting and or building the contacts.
So if we're in the United States, we have products, we're moving brands, and we want to expand into the UK.
Mm.
Tell us how we would work or how you would help us do that.
You mean now, in e-commerce or into the retail boxes?
Well, retail, because it sounds to me like obviously your e-com is UK focused for your brands, but you're more focused on helping other people with theirs into retail, if that's correct.
Right.
Or
Either
not,
way,
tell
the other
me.
way around.
Am I
My main market's still Germany. I mean, luckily the largest one in Germany, but UK goes the same way. If you, for example, have whatever cosmetics brands and you're going into Boots, and what you can do there with the retail is, of course, I mean, you convince them to say, hey, this is a good product. The product has demand, and well, you don't have this product or anything in the niche in your shelves yet as well, but there is a clear demand if it fits the purpose, if it fits the price range. For example, my second brand is a beauty brand, and we want to push it into some stores now. I guess it's 2023 when it airs again. Some of the stores will not fit for the simple reason because they're like too low priced, or the average price of the products is too low. So we're going for the stores that have more premium products. And the way you're doing is you show what kind of products you have, you show that there's demand, you show that they have a good, in best case, you bring in a social media followership with yourselves, so that they say, hey, there's a big demand, whether it's in beauty, Gillette or L'Oreal or anybody. Of course they would take the products because they know they're worldwide recognized. If not, and you can show that the products still have a demand, people are searching for it, and maybe in best case as well, You're selling them also in online stores throughout Europe. They can directly see, of course, the demand. I mean, also they understood what helium-10 is.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. So then the question is, how do I actually get that successful product into the retail and TV shopping? How did you actually get started, and how are you doing it now?
Awaken demand. Same thing as usual. I mean, you need to show them that the product will, and they don't care, of course, in first place. They don't really care about the product. They don't really care about you as a brand. They may find you sympathetic. Is that the right English word? Sympathetic? Yeah. Pathetic. It's sympathetic.
Empathetic. Let's play the thesaurus game.
Either or. It's 50-50, you know?
Right. We'll call
I
it.
mean, they may, just like you and push you for their support. Or if you're showing them, hey, there's demand, you should put this in there, all they're seeing is numbers. And if they see it fits into their portfolio, it fits into, on the shelf, and you can say you're selling better than some other product that is in there already, you'll have a stand good chance of, pushing out another product and getting your own in there. Of course, you'll need to calculate in that you probably will pay some advertisement as well and this and that. But the biggest point, the biggest issue is same as usual in any direct sales or, person in between person sales, is that you need to contacts. You either need to build them up or you go in there. And that's the same way how I have done it is you start calling them, you start finding out who's the purchaser for which category, you build a relationship with them. You show them what kind of product, you bring, you can have, what the advantages for them are. Why should they list you? And and this is a good way. The more and more you do that, I by now know, from them the demands, what they want to have in their stores. So I now partially also target based look for specific products which they want to sell in, let's say, in the electronic stores throughout Germany in almost 600 stores. And there will be a lucky person who gets some of the products in there.
Nice. Now, what is Signify? Can you explain to me what that service or software is it?
No,
that
it's literally a service where it's I would love to say man hours, but it's actually woman hours. I'm the only person, not the only person. I'm the only guy in the company. And Signify, we specialize in product sourcing worldwide. Of course, in China, but also in the rest of the world. So for the US, we source in Mexico, we source in Latin America, we source in Canada, in the US, of course, as well, and also in China and all the other Asian countries that may not be affected by the import tariffs. So what we're doing is we're sourcing products the same way as we are sourcing them for ourselves, just for our customers. And those may be Amazon starters, e-commerce starters, it may be established sellers, it may be the aggregators, but we also do some specialty sourcing for some of the Fortune 500 companies that need right now electronic chips. And they are really, really struggling. Where we live here right now, there are two big car factories, Porsche and BMW, here in Leipzig, Germany. And you can see the outside, they're standing full. The cars are standing there. And you can't move them because they don't have the chips, they don't have the memory, they don't have the electronic chips to put them in. So they're actually working with dummies. Signify Global Product Sourcing. I hope we chose a good enough name so it actually tells what we do.
No, it's great. It's a unique name, and I'm not going to forget it. Yeah, I know the chip shortages are one of the things that are obviously an industry problem right now, since Taiwan has like 80% of the chipping. I know that just recently there's a $50 billion investment, I think I saw yesterday, that Intel is making into the United States to get a chip manufacturer off the ground. So that, that's still going to take them a year or two to tool that up at least and get that full production. So we're going to be seeing a slight difference at least in the US market, I'm sure, as well as worldwide, unless, Taiwan is able to get more chips made faster somehow. So that's interesting. Interesting challenges in certain areas. In other areas, you can get more than enough widgets if they don't have electronics in them. Appreciate where you're going and where you are. So, what makes Signify unique? Like if I have a sourcing agent, I've got feet on the street, I've got a global sourcing division. What makes you kind of unique? Like why you guys? Not to put you on the spot, but
yeah, I actually wanted to say I'm not really like a person who's finger pointing at anybody or saying somebody's bad. I personally believe anybody who's out there in the market as a sourcing company, sourcing agency who lives and survives there for several years or many years, hopefully also many years to come, I guess they have a right to be there. They probably do a good job. I think one of the things that we maybe do differently is, well, for once we're sellers ourselves. So we actually grew out of our own demand. And well, my wife, we both used to live in China, and that's where we actually got to know each other. I was 6 years in Asia, 12 years in Asia, 3 in China, and 9 in China. And she's been doing sourcing actually all her life long. So 18 years. Don't tell her that I told you how old she is now, but she's been doing sourcing for pretty much like 18 years. And it all started with she used to do this for bigger companies, helping the DIY stores to find all the products, hardware, tools, and then the original Nike, Adidas, Converse, and Chanel shoes. So not the fake ones that fall off the truck, but the real ones. And she's done the sourcing for them. And later, it actually took me about like 2 years to understand that the better half, who was sharing, the bed with me, she could do the sourcing for my products. And I was like, babe, can you do the sourcing for mine? And she was like, of course. And this is how that pretty much
Nice.
spread. And I think the way we do it differently is, when sourcing in China, we usually look for about 30 potential producers. Outside of China, about 60. Our target is to get the best quality for the lowest price. And this is why we're not taking a percentage of the order volume, and we never will. Because, if there's an order volume percentage, it means we wouldn't really be necessarily interested in the lowest price. And we
Right.
could push you for a higher one to say, like, Neil, hey, right now as we're recording it, Chinese New Year is coming. Maybe you want to place a little bit of a higher order. And maybe I'll pick the sample and tell you it's the best sample, the one that's a little bit higher priced, because order volume will be higher and I get my 10%. Plus, we're giving out all the contacts from all of the suppliers, so you can contact them at any time. You do not have to do the reorder sourcing with us. You can take over anytime we want. We want to do 100% honesty and transparency for, I think, a quite affordable price. In the end, usually it comes down to that we're also not only finding a lot of producers and finding the quality, doing the quality control and so on, will also, I guess, hopefully also be cheaper.
Yeah. So what are a couple of gotchas that those who haven't never sourced before, you would say, hey, watch out for these things. Here's a couple of things, and maybe a couple of pros and a couple of cons, if you might give us some insight.
You mean specifically for China or just in general?
Or just specific for sourcing? Like if I'm not sourcing and I'm looking at sourcing, or even if I'm looking for additional sourcing, what are a couple of things you might tell people to be aware of?
Well, if they tell you that's a fixed thing and that's like the fixed MOQ, don't believe it. Always question everything. So if they tell you the MOQ is 50,000 pieces, they're maybe just trying. And maybe that the MOQ is 500. We just had one customer who came to us and said, hey, I placed an first order with a new supplier for I think the first product even for him. And I think he paid like $150,000 on the first order. And we asked, like, why? He said, well, they told me it's the MOQ. And I was like, for sure not. That would not be the MOQ. Another thing that you have, of course, prices are negotiable. MOQs are negotiable. Payment terms are negotiable. Pretty much everything is negotiable. And if suppliers really want to win a deal, they will need to work. So make sure that you also have enough proposals, enough counter offers to say, hey, you have a lever of negotiation, so that you actually say, you know what, if you don't want to produce it, I'll back out and I'll go to another one. So either you bring in a lot of stamina, a lot of confidence, even if you have only one supplier, potential one, and tell them straight away, it's like, no, I have tons of others, or you actually really have in a backup. And that is what we suggest everyone. Don't only get like 2, 3, or 4 proposals. Again, we're target to find 30 to 60 potential producers, depending on where we do that, for once to get enough proposals out of those to really have a leverage point. And then you will also know the real market price.
Some great suggestions.
Others that you should definitely do is always quality control. And not only of the samples, maybe I'll give you another anecdote, a small story. There was also, he became our customer before he was our customer. He told me, Sebastian, I've done a mistake. I ordered the samples, I looked at the samples, did the quality control, I picked whatever, version 2, said, fantastic order, let's start producing. Production went through, stuff was shipped, he imported into Germany, and German bureaucracy. We're super famous for just making everything as difficult as possible. And container lands there in his yard, he opens it up, $100,000, looks at it, and the mass production looks very different from the sample. What was his problem?
Ouch.
He did not do quality control on the mass production. Yes, it costs a few $100s, but especially when it goes to those numbers, do a quality control. Always and always.
Such great advice. And
never not.
Such a bad learning curve we want to try to avoid. Don't buy so much inventory until you've quality controlled. Get it in your hands, play with
Yep.
it, make sure you know, are going to get the quality of the product. Mini test runs is what we refer to them as.
Yep.
You know, ordering small samples, small MOQs of that
Have
product
somebody who goes
on a
in the factory
manufacturing
there.
run before you order large.
If you have somebody
Get
locally,
somebody on the
send them
feet on the
in.
street, right?
Sorry, there was, I think, a delay here a little bit. New home, we're still figuring out the Wi-Fi signal.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, no, we're saying the same thing in essence, feet on the street, right?
Yeah.
If you can get somebody to go to the manufacturer and ensure or know that they've already had a relationship with that manufacturer.
Speak the
And you
language
can get the speak for
of the
quality.
suppliers. Another small hint, maybe, to say, you know, I mean, for once they will accept you as well, kind of like as part of their own. If you want to source in Romania and you speak Romanian, I mean, this leaves a big impact on the producer because they, oh wow, okay, they tolerate me, they respect me, they even have somebody who speaks Romanian, they're part of my kind. I will, you know, support it or maybe even give an offer. And be persistent, especially when you source outside of China. Don't give up. Continue, continue, continue. And depending on the culture, I mean, I don't want to make any culture bad or so. By now, of course, in the very beginning, me as a German engineer going over to China, I had my troubles working and living and working together with Chinese. But then once you arrive in the culture and you learn to understand them, it's a very different topic. But question anything that is being stated. And for some cultures, this may be more strongly advised than for another culture.
No doubt, no doubt. Great advice. So as we're doing this, and it's going to record and play roughly, we're in the first quarter, if you're listening to this, of 2023. So Happy New Year. We are still brand new in this first quarter. What's next for you and Signify this year as you look forward and kind of decide where you're going, or if you've decided where you're going, what's next for you?
Well, for sure, what we're doing is we're going to be in more and more events locally as well. So we're ourselves exhibiting more and more. Last year, we just started. I guess we're going to be growing a bit more. And on the other hand, of course, also extending our services and maybe making a bit more clear that we do quality control locally. And we grew in the last 18 months from one person, my better half, to 47. All women, I'm the only guy, but they're all sitting remotely everywhere where the sourcing happens. So we'll be even more present in the local areas. And we'll come over to the US a bit more often and also be in some of the shows and cruises and so on. So I myself am super, super excited to, it's been only 2 times. We've once been at the Powwow Miami or in West Palm Beach and at the Sell and Scale in Las Vegas. So I guess our target will be going a bit more and being more present at the shows next year in the US, for example.
Awesome. Well, I very much appreciate you coming on, sharing some information about yourself. Clearly, you know what you're talking about in the business of sourcing. So it's great to have you on here. I appreciate it so much. Folks, if you want to go check it out, go to signify.net. Check him out on the social network. Sebastian is out there. You guys can find him pretty easy. There'll be links in the show notes as well. Go check out what we're doing at Voltage as well on the e-commerce side, because sourcing is a huge component of what we talk about all the time. And there's free workshop and training in there for you guys to learn a little bit more about how to apply that to the conversation that we had today. I appreciate you so much. Go out, like, subscribe, comment, give me some great feedback. Do your thing, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much, Dale.
If you like this episode, please share it with people you think will enjoy it as well. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of High Voltage Business Builders.